All right, we're here live at 1 Million Cups. Happens most Wednesdays at 9 a.m. where we listen to an entrepreneur, small business owner, or another interesting person talk about the cool thing they have going on in the area. Today, we're actually videoing in our presenter. So he's mysteriously in the screen. It's almost like the Willy Wonka. It's the Willy Wonka thing. He's in the screen. He's gonna materialize in our midst, and then we'll put him back in the screen, and he'll go away. Wonka vision. This is Thinker vision. Thinker vision. Well, welcome to 1 Million Cups. If this is your first time here, here's how this is going to roll. We're going to do a little bit of announcements. We're going to hear from you what announcements you know about in the area. We'll throw you the catch box courtesy of the city of Rockford. You'll speak into the catch box and tell us what you have going on or what you know about what's going on. Then we're going to hear from our presenter, after which we're going to have him answer three important questions as part of his presentation. The first one is, what is the product or service? The second, what's the target audience or who's the target audience? The third is, what's amazing about the management team? And then the fourth and final question is, where are you stuck? Or what are you working on? Or how can we, as a community, help you? That's how it's going to roll. The coffee today, if you are enjoying coffee, is courtesy of Serve Pro of Rockford and Mr. Charlie Hare over there in the corner. I think it is. Oh, did you? Well, you're doing it again this week. Rob made a mistake here with the list. So you're on the list. So thanks anyhow for the coffee. Also, we have Matt Simpson here in the house. He's with the City of Rockford and Economic Development. If you're looking for business support, he's the man to talk to. All right? First up, what events do you know about in the Rockford area in the next several weeks? Business-related events. You'll catch this. And then I'm going to throw it to you. You know what? If you need your notes, I think you can use your notes. We'll forgive you for the note usage. We don't require anybody to memorize anything here. As you notice, this is all extemporaneous speaking as well.
Oh, that's a microphone.
What do you got going on? Yeah, pull the microphone up to your face so we can hear you.
Okay. So on September 25th at the Forest Hills Lodge next to the Rockford Speedway, we've invited Joe Gibbs, the legendary football coach of the Washington Redskins, who won 3 Super Bowls in the 80s, and now he owns a NASCAR racing company called Joe Gibbs Racing, and he's won 4 NASCAR championships. So Rockford Speedway's been there for about 73 years, and there's a lot of history there. So Joe is going to come up and speak about his success in NASCAR and football and his life. And his life is all about a little bit of tragedy, because his son died this year, who was 48 years old, of cancer. And so he flies around the country doing speaking at no cost to inspire students, athletes, and all of us to a life of faith. And so he's going to be coming out and speaking on September 25th at the Rockford Speedway next to the Forest Hills Lodge. And we're hoping to have 400 or 500 people there to hear him speak about the game plan for life.
Awesome. How can people learn more about that event?
Well, I do have flyers with me today, which I can leave. Now, I just heard about your fabulous organization this week, so I have to duck out after my presentation, but I'll leave my flyers here for the event.
Is there a website or anything people can go to?
Yeah, it's on the.
Can I read it? Because we're live streaming this, so we want people online to know about this thing.
All right. Well, it's actually my email and my phone number.
All right.
So.
Well, should we say it online?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
If you're looking to sign people up for newsletters, sign bob.blesser. Yeah, B-L-E-S-E-R?
Yeah, Blazer.
Blazer? Mm-hmm. B-L-E-S-E-R?
Yes.
Yeah, bob.blesser@gmail.com. You can either sign him up for a newsletter so he can start receiving more spam in his inbox, or you can learn about the event he's got coming up here at the Rockford Speedway. That's awesome.
Okay.
Cool. We'll keep that in mind. You can put that on the counter over there, and we'll make sure to distribute that.
Okay.
Any other events that you know of coming up business related in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks? It's kind of a lull in the time frame for business stuff with school starting.
I have something.
Yes,
Jason.
please.
Sponsorships for the Rockford Mayor's Hunger Luncheon are due by August 31st. The event takes place October 1st at Cliff Breakers, and proceeds will go to the Rock River Food Pantry. The Mayor's Hunger Luncheon last year brought over 350 people, and we have scholarships available at many different levels. Sponsorships at many different levels available. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Other events that you know of coming up in the next 2 or 3 weeks in the area, business related. All right. Excellent. I'll take the catchbox. The catchbox will come back at the end of the presentation. Our presenter here, he's online. I see his face. He's prepped and ready to rock. We're going to bring him online here. This is Ed. I'd like everybody to say hello to Ed.
Hi.
He is founder of Chicago Metrics, and he's got a cool story that he wants to share with you. Ed, this is your turn. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. Let's give him a hand.
Thanks, Jason, and 1 Million Cups. So, Jason and I were talking just before this and how we very quickly put this together last night, thanks to LinkedIn. I wanted to be there in person, but I got a 10:30 in Itasca, and just teleportation is not there yet. So, but I wanted to tell the story of Chicago Metrics in my 10 minutes here. So when I was the CISO at Chicago Public Schools, we had a challenge of who cared about information security. And so I developed a platform, which at the time we called CIA Metrics, with a way to take tactical information security metrics and translate that into something the business could talk about. So we could do risk management and prioritization to do investment to protect the district best. After I left, I then have a lot of feedback. Are we good, Rob? We're good. Okay. And so what I then did was I expanded the CIA metrics into what is now Chicago Metrics. The CIA focused on the information security aspect and the IT aspect, but was missing the business piece. And so what Chicago Metrics is now is the key risk indicators actually spells out Chicago: confidentiality, human resources, integrity, character, availability, and gold, which spells Chicago, where character is reputation and gold is finance. So we have 6 key risk indicators that aggregate up to be able to explain to the business how IT and information security is impacting them in terms that they can understand. And so with our own algorithm in the background, we can help tell that better story. So that's our tagline, which is enabling IT and InfoSec to tell a better story. I just posted on LinkedIn this morning that one of the biggest issues that CISOs and CIOs have is that the business doesn't hear them, doesn't understand, doesn't prioritize. Well, it's either the story or they're not ready to hear it or even understand it. And it's the CIO and the CISO's job and their fault if it doesn't happen. Our target audience, who we really work with, we do have some existing customers, and it ranges from small villages, such as the village of DeKalb had used us in the past, to U.S. Cellular, which is a multi-billion-dollar organization. We just brought on Rush University Medical Center this year, as well as they're trying to tell their story, show how tactical, very technical IT and information security metrics are impacting the business in terms that the business can understand. Been in IT for over 20 years, came up through infrastructure, ran information security for Chicago Public Schools, was this director CIO for the Hope Organ Tissue Donor Network. So, been doing this with an application built by a practitioner, not just someone who thought this was a good idea, fill a gap. We've been using it. When we first launched 4 years ago, it started off as a spreadsheet because I was traveling around the country telling people about this great idea, and they said, you could sell this. So as a proof of concept, stood up the company, sold the spreadsheet. Turns out spreadsheets are really bad for recurring revenue models because when people download it, they don't rebuy it. So we launched a Kickstarter at the end of 2017, raised 4 grand, or 2016, raised 4 grand, and launched the SaaS application beginning of 2017. And we've been enhancing and developing the SaaS application from the base model of what it was, to adding a risk register, vendor risk assessment platform, and other tools to help manage and prioritize information security risks. That's what we do. That's the nutshell.
Wow, that was pretty good presentation. Pretty technical stuff. So you're using an acronym called CISO.
Yes.
It's CISO.
Yes. So Chief Information Security Officer.
Okay, Chief Information Security Officer. And what's the role of CISO in an organization?
That's a loaded question. So the CISO generally is an individual who's going to be prioritizing information security risks and performing risk management for an organization as it pertains to not just IT, but overall information security and data protection.
Wow. All right. Cool. Well, we're going to get back to that in just a minute here. We're curious what the audience heard as part of your presentation in their own words. So we're going to get some feedback from you, the audience. Number one, what is the product or service that Ed is selling with Chicago Metrics? In your own words. I know it's a pretty technical presentation. What do you think?
It's not even 9:30, Jason. Give him a break.
Yes. Information security. Okay. Other thoughts? Information security. So is that pretty? I mean, information security is a pretty broad topic.
It is.
So what are maybe the 2 or 3 things that you focus on as part of information security?
We focus in on risk prioritization, having the business understand information security in terms that they understand. That's probably our bread and butter, what we do. The article I just posted on LinkedIn this morning talked about how executives and boards don't understand the information security space, and that they need someone in leadership that can understand that. But the biggest job of the CISO is doing that translation from technical to business, and we help do that.
Gotcha. So you take the underlying very complicated aspects of information security and tactically how you might keep things secure or monitor them for security, and then you make that understandable or meaningful to the target, which is the organization who doesn't want their stuff stolen.
Exactly.
All right. Cool. 2, second question is, who's the target audience? What did you hear in terms of target audience for his business? Yes. Small business to multi-billion-dollar companies like Comcast. Yeah, is that true? Do you have a target that you focus on?
So we were targeting the medium-sized businesses, but we were finding that the larger businesses are actually more inclined to pick us up. We've had better success with the over $1 billion population versus the 100 to 500 million.
What do you think has been the resistance from mid-market businesses?
Their appetite for adding new processes has been, I think, the biggest thing. Is they don't have in their mind, the staff, the time, the resources to manage yet another tool or process. Where the larger organizations have the resources and they recognize that they have a lot of information that's very expensive. What we're seeing in the smaller customer size too, and particularly in government, is that government's one of the most highly attacked vectors. According to the Verizon data breach report, nearly 50% of incidents and breaches come out of government. So government's been highly interested, which is where we've partnered with GMIS, the Government Management Information Services group, to stand up and put together their accreditation platform, which actually runs on our platform.
All right, cool. Number 3, what's amazing about the management team? What did you hear from Ed? What's amazing about the management team? Yes, sir, in the back. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they help people protect their valuable data and intellectual property. Yep, absolutely. Other things you heard from Ed's background. I heard one interesting thing. I'd have to read it, but you've Northwestern Kellogg School of Management, I think is where you studied. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have 2 certificates from Kellogg, one in nonprofit management, and the other one in leadership. Did my graduate work at NIU, MBA and Master's in Math.
Awesome. And you've done the security space before, you mentioned.
Yeah, so I ran security, IT and computer forensic program for the International Academy of Design and Technology, and then from there I went to CPS as their information security manager, CISO, head of information security for the entire district. So we had 400,000 end users. That was, or actually 440,000 end users, 400,000 kids and 40,000 staff, over 250,000 endpoints, 650 schools in CPS. So fairly large amount of stuff and people and information to protect. We had at least a petabyte of data in our back-end databases.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of information to keep secure and monitor. Talk about, yeah, you used the word vector. Maybe describe for our audience who might not be so knowledgeable about information security, what's a vector?
Sorry, what's vector?
For our audience, yeah, what's a vector and why you use the word vector?
So yeah, vector would be like, the attack vector, how people are trying to get into the environment. It's the path to do that.
Cool. All right. Well, the 4th question is for you. Where are you stuck, or how can the community help you and your business?
Yeah, our biggest thing right now is, since we've been around for 4 years, we've tweaked and tuned the product, listening to customers and putting it out there. So we think we have a pretty good offering. Problem is, no one knows about it. So no one buys it unless they know it exists. It's not true. If you build it, they will come.
That's true. That is not a thing. It was a movie once, but
it was.
Yep.
So we've been trying to do a lot of organic. We've been doing some paid, discovering that cost per mile on Facebook is probably one of the cheapest. So we've just started that. The other thing that we're going to be launching here soon, because we're seeing this end-to-end life cycle, is doing what we're going to be calling Chicago Metrics Personal, which is where we help individuals tell their story from job search perspective. And the idea here is to help someone tell their story as an IT and information security professional. If you've ever read an IT or InfoSec resume, they read absolutely horribly. So how do you translate into business terms, help that person get a job, and then when they do that, they then bring you back in to continue telling that story as the actual Chicago Metrics platform. So that's the next path we're going to, is going from B2B to adding a B2C component.
Gotcha. To help other information security individuals tell their story and get jobs. Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So based on that, getting the word out about this complicated subject, which as a fellow geek, I have great respect for what it is that you do. But I'm sure that it's a mystery to a lot of people, and it's one of those things, well, if I can't see it, therefore it doesn't exist, or at least I probably shouldn't put any money towards it. So getting the word out about the complicated subject like information security and monitoring is difficult. So what's the community's input? What thoughts do you have for Ed as he's looking to grow his business over the past 4 years and looking to the future? I've got the catch box. We'll throw the catch box to you. Speak up with a thought, an idea. There's no dumb questions, no dumb thoughts, no judgment zone here in the thinker space. Yes, sir. Here you go.
One of the things that I've discovered is growing quite well in social media as well. You're on LinkedIn right now. Getting your information out to folks via video. Have you done anything along those lines?
Yeah, so I do at least a weekly post myself personally on my own brand and my own followers. And then something that we're now a month into with Chicago Metrics is we've started what we're calling Metrics Monday, and we've actually been using that hashtag of Metrics Monday across Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. And what we do is we take one of the 142 tactical metrics we have in our standard metric import set. We talk about it for about a minute or two, letting the world know what it is tactically is in our set and how that can impact the business and tell the story. So we're about a month into using that piece. For myself personally, I've been posting videos helping build the brand because people, at least right now, Chicago Metrics and I are one and the same.
What kind of success have you seen off that daily posting?
We've seen large numbers of interactions. The organic has been limited. The paid on Facebook has been quite advantageous. Again, Facebook cost per mile is incredibly cheap, so we're getting good exposure at this point. We haven't had any conversions yet. But with anything like this, it's a long runway versus short term, so I'm okay with that. The other thing that going with paid on LinkedIn, Insta, and Facebook has been a shift of dollars from doing trade shows, which can be rather expensive, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 plus at a time, and using that and getting a greater reach that way. I mean, our last video that we ran had 22,000 impressions. I couldn't get that at a trade show for the $200 that we spent on it.
Gotcha. Nice. Other thoughts, questions, ideas for Mr. Ed and how he can get the Mr. Ed? I shouldn't say that. On how he can get the word out. That was a good show. Way back in the day. Do you remember that?
I do.
I still remember the song. Do you remember the song?
I would recognize it if I heard it.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it later. Other thoughts on how to grow a business that's a complicated space and making it simple for an end user who recognizes the benefit of not having your stuff stolen, but isn't sure how to get there from a technological standpoint.
If I may, one other thought. You have a very complicated and a very diverse, with multifaceted product, if you will. Each of your prospects may not be looking at everything that you have to offer more so than what my problem or my issue or how I understand it is. Mm-hmm. How do you target or break down your message? Very broad. Your presentation was great, but it was a lot. And understandably why, but I think to be effective, you have to really slim it down a little bit, define who and what sectors would be of interest, and maybe make your message, either presentation, video, what have you, to those markets, with that demographic. That way they can hopefully find a nugget of sense and tag onto that and ask questions that would be relatable to their needs.
So you're saying tailor it to a certain vertical?
Well, yes. I think if we could define in that area verticals, it may be difficult, but maybe we find some common traits that might be available to or folks that are needing that, and we then sell to that particular need, if you will. It's a bad word, but I think if you took a large buffet, instead of serving it all, but only took a plateful of what we need, and that would be what you like to eat, if you will. It's a dumb analogy, but we can serve up that way rather than offering everything. You do have, as I say, a complicated business, but I think we have to find a way to make little bite-sized chunks out of that to get some interest.
What do you think? What have you experienced?
So that's one of the biggest challenges that we had, which is defining the verticals. People ask us, what vertical do you target? Well, my customers are government, healthcare, finance, telecom, retail. So it runs the gamut. So being able to say, oh no, I'm in fintech only, but rather we're in, everyone's impacted by information security. But so I think it's a matter of explaining it that way and saying, do you have data? Yes. Is it valuable? Yes. Then great. What are you doing to protect it? And do you understand what it is you're doing with that? With our offerings, we do have tiered offerings, from our free package, which is our base metrics platform, to adding on things such as an ROI calculator and the risk register and the vendor risk assessment. So all the things that people would those add-on and extra features. But from a base package, our core product and solution is the SaaS metrics tracking solution. But yeah, definitely being able to tune the message to hitting the pain point of, do you know what your information security program is? Do you know where your risks are? No? Great. Well, let us help you identify and manage those over time.
Yeah, we got a question over here. You'll have to throw it. That's the rules. Boom. There we go. Question.
I was just going to say, your response to that last question more clearly defined what you are presenting and what you're trying to market than the entire presentation you did. When you asked all those questions, and those are the things to point out to someone, I understood that short little bit more clearly than the presentation itself.
Were you talking about the part where he
We're
said?
just asking
yeah,
about
yeah.
the
where he said, "Do you have data? Is it important?
there
Is
you
it
go.
important to you? What are you doing to protect
Yeah,
it?"
absolutely. Those are clear things. There wasn't any industry speak in there. There weren't. It was just, I could hone in on exactly what you're saying and what you're asking, and then I could then, if I were interested in product, I could then ask myself, okay, he's got something that I'm interested in, and I want to jump to that.
Yeah.
So
That's great feedback. Thank you.
I think that's pretty true, and I think from our experiences, it's pretty true in a lot of different industries where you've got the industry speak, the industry lingo, and you become very comfortable in that. But then the end user, we forget that the end user has not crossed the chasm of understanding, and so they don't have some of these baseline kind of these foundational elements or something in place. Yeah. So we have to move it down to 6th grade. Other thoughts, questions, ideas on how he can get the word out? Let me ask you this, do you as an individual have a clear understanding of what information security or what you can do about protecting your information? Maybe that's a better way to put it. Do you have a clear understanding of what you as an individual or you as your organization can do to protect your information? Do you have a clear understanding? Rob has a clear understanding. Maybe. Were you scratching your face back there? You're buying the McLaren? All right, 17 million. Do you? I'm wondering because I feel like this is one of those areas that it is so that the layman's understanding is so far away from what actually happens and what they could understand that the people they don't even want to cross that level of understanding. There's a resistance to it for some reason. I don't know what the resistance is. What do you think? What's the resistance, and how can we get over those barriers? Yeah, please, in the back. Throw the catch box. Otherwise, we can't hear you. There we go. Yeah.
All right, well, I would say technology is always changing, so it's a commitment, and now is it going to change? How quick, so I'm clueless. So I wouldn't even know where to begin, and how do I know that I can trust this system, that there isn't going to be something else that I should be doing instead? So,
Oh, gotcha. So there's a resistance to adoption because it's going to change anyhow.
'cause,
So why
right,
do it
I don't
now?
know anything to begin with, so I'm starting
Okay.
from square zero, so how do I know this is where I need to be?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point because I'm looking at it from the terms. Did you hear that? Did you hear? Okay, so,
Couldn't understand everything.
okay, so her response was, since technology is always changing, then why should I jump in now? Why should I take the effort to understand this now and do something about it now when there might be something different, 6 months from now or a year from now? There's no kind of impetus, no impending need.
Yeah, no, it's a great point with respect to technology. The thing that we've seen in at least this space is always the tried and true version 1 is better than version 0. So doing something is better than doing nothing. And then the other side of that too is even with all the advances in technology, a new trend in the information security space is actually getting back to basics. All the breaches, Experian and Sony and Target and even Capital One, all of these come from not doing a good job of the basics. So regardless of the technology, paying attention to monitoring and patching and not clicking and doing all the basic stuff that doesn't really change over the last 20 years is something that we need to start doing and doing a better job of managing. So why should you adopt something, especially like ours? Getting back to basics and knowing where the environment is. I tell people where I've heard this before, which is the idea. It's the bear analogy. You don't have to run faster than the bear; just run faster than the other person. And it's also like the idea of the stealth bomber. The stealth bomber is a gigantic plane, but on radar it looks like this big. It's super teeny tiny. Why? Because now you don't know what's coming at you. It looks like a bird. And I think that's the idea: is that we can reduce our radar footprint to something really small. The bad guys move on to the next one. Statistically.
Right. Other thoughts as we winding down our time here? This is a complicated issue, information security, and you're not the first person to to talk about a complicated issue and I think get feedback to try and figure out what are these hurdles and how can we make it easier for people to adopt the message, because it is an important message. Nobody wants their data hacked.
Yeah.
Certainly businesses don't want files taken and stuff removed or computers infected, and everybody respects that, but very few people are willing to kind of go through the process of understanding, and then even after they understand, are they willing to do something about it? So you're in an important space, but one that's difficult to communicate to. Well, if you've got a feedback for Ed, you can reach him on LinkedIn. How do they get in contact with you and your organization?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Edward Marchewka. Also, can be reached at Marchewka, EMARCHEWKA at chicagometrics.com, or just visit us at chicagometrics.com.
Chicagometrics.com. That's easy. Cool. Well, this is fantastic. Thanks for spending your time with us. Did we go muted on him? Can you hear us still? Something's happening with this. There we go. Now we're back.
Yeah, you're back.
For some reason it muted. All right. Well, thanks for spending your time with us this morning and for your presentation. This has been exciting.
Thanks for the opportunity, Jason. I really appreciate it.
We usually give you a coffee mug as part of the presentation, so we'll make sure that you get that coffee mug. We'll send it over to you. We'll get your deets. Something's happening, Rob. Yeah. I think we have a bad cable.
Hey, now you're back.
There we go. Yeah, something's happening with this fancy Chromebook of ours. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We're going to sign you off, and then we'll start it all.
All right. Technical difficulties. I think you're saying goodbye.
All right. We're gonna say goodbye right now, and we'll sign you off, and then we'll close up, and we'll do Okay. All right. Oh, thank God for technology. All right, well, thanks for coming to 1 Million Cups. If you've got a business idea that you need assistance with, go see Matt Simpson over the corner there. And have a wonderful sunny Wednesday. Thanks for coming.